A few months ago, we went back in time and took a look back at the first ever Road to WrestleMania mode from SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, the inaugural edition that had everything from John Cena becoming Captain America to Boogeyman sucking the soul out of Kane to Finlay becoming a zombie. 09 hit a home run in every way with the first ever edition of this mode, and thankfully for us, when THQ dropped SVR 2010 the following year, Road to WrestleMania made its return and it was back with 6 brand new stories. From Edge being a slimy, disgusting piece of shit as usual to a chicken fighting in the Elimination Chamber, even though it might not have been as crazy as the first one, even though it was a little more grounded, SVR 2010's Road to WrestleMania was a masterpiece in its own way, and it definitely deserves a look back at. This is SVR 2010's Road to WrestleMania mode, and we begin with a classic. We begin with the Rated R Superstar. Despite this coming out during the time I was a kid and I despised this man, despite this coming out almost a year after he was an Al-Qaeda terrorist on SmackDown in 2008, this is one of the best Road to WrestleMania stories ever. See, for the first time in a long time, and maybe the first time ever, we finally got to do a story mode in a wrestling game as a heel. And not just any heel, no, you got to be Edge through and through. The story begins with you as Edge on SmackDown beating Triple H in a match, and all the talk on SmackDown at this point is all about how Vince McMahon is looking to crown a new general manager for the show and really shake things up. So the story begins and you decide to walk into Vince's office and recommend someone for the position of general manager, and to everyone's surprise, you don't recommend yourself, you end up recommending Maria. You bring Maria into Vince's office and tell Vince to check out her quote-unquote resume, and you actually leave poor Maria in there and leave the room. And let's just say Vince starts looking at her like a piece of meat. Oh my, Vince, even in the video game you're doing this shit? Alright, there's another lawsuit. Alright, so that happens, and then next week Vince announces that Maria got promoted. Is this Road to WrestleMania, or am I reading the transcript of Vince's lawsuit? Anyway, Maria becomes the general manager of SmackDown, and it was all thanks to you. And with Maria in your pocket, you as Edge basically run the Vicky Guerrero playbook all over again and terrorize SmackDown. Jesse, Vladimir Kozlov, Mr. Kennedy, it doesn't matter. Nobody's safe. It's time for Edge to wild out. And while you're going crazy on the SmackDown roster, you're going crazy on Maria every week as well. You're out here spitting game to Maria. You got her giggling like a schoolgirl. You got her going wild, casually making out with her in the locker room. And as Mr. Kennedy points out, you're basically sleeping your way to the top. Yeah, sounds like Edge. Yo, I swear, Edge without someone to manipulate is basically Shaq in a Celtics jersey. Alright, so Mr. Kennedy becomes the one guy on the roster who's determined to take you down and stop this nonsense. Because with Maria as GM, she basically becomes your sugar mama and blesses you with everything you could possibly need. It's Royal Rumble night, have no fear, your sugar mama got you with the number 30 spot, it's all good, and whoa, would you look at that, you even end up winning the Rumble. Less than a month into the story, it already felt so slimy and disgusting, and as a 10-year-old back in 2009, this literally had me, they had me playing my worst nightmare. But I can't lie, in 2024, yo, it's fun being Edge. It's fun being this asshole in the story mode. As I was playing this, the Edge venom was getting to me. One week on SmackDown, you're supposed to take on Mr. Kennedy in a tag match, and you get to decide who your tag partner is going to be and who's Kennedy's partner is going to be. Hey, yo, you bet your ass I chose Matt Hardy as Kennedy's partner and beat his ass like it was 2005 again. But nah, you got Maria wrapped around your finger, calling her kitten, sugar puss, calling all these words that I don't even know what they mean. You're even out here low-key gaslighting her and kind of mentioning cheating on her, just a little bit. Your master plan overall is going well, very well to say the least. You're the number one contender, you got Maria on your side, you got all the power on SmackDown, all is well. But as usual, this one idiot just can't seem to leave you alone, and eventually it was time for the epic showdown between you and Mr. Kennedy. It was finally time for you to shut up Kennedy and move on with their life and continue your domination of SmackDown and Maria. And in the most typical Edge fashion, with you, Maria, Kennedy all in the ring, you sacrifice Maria's life for that 1, 2, 3. Poor Maria's on the apron, you look at the camera and boom, Maria gets crushed, you sneak the win against Kennedy, and in one of the funniest things I've ever seen, Kennedy attacks you after you steal the win, right? And you get into a little brawl with him to close the show, and the whole time Maria, who you basically killed, is just dead at ringside. She hasn't moved for minutes at this point, she's out cold, and we ended up beefing beside her outside the ring, and her dead body, and poor Maria, who is supposedly like the love of your life, is just getting destroyed. Kicked in the head accidentally, Kennedy falls on her, I think I accidentally hit her with the bell. Clearly nobody cares about the safety of this poor girl, and whatever injuries she had before are 10 times worse now, and next thing you know, you're in the hospital at Maria's bedside with your shirt off, because that's normal, and poor Maria doesn't remember a thing. She's concussed, she has amnesia, probably has herpes because of Edge, I don't know, but she has no idea what happened to her, and what do you do as Edge? What do you do in this very sensitive time? You blame Mr. Kennedy, duh. So poor Maria starts tripping, she's all loopy, she's all confused, and eventually is all like, oh no, how will I be the general manager of SmackDown if I'm in the hospital? And what do you think Edge does in this situation? Does he console her like, it doesn't matter, honey, don't worry about it, it's just wrestling, it's fake? No. Instead, you just happen to pull out power of attorney papers at the hospital and you get your basically dead girlfriend to sign off her general manager duties to you. And just like that, before you even know it, you're at the hospital before she can even finish her sentence, and despite your girl being in the hospital, you run your ass back to SmackDown as a GM and you live your best life. Getting massages from divas, making Mr. Kennedy win the title just so you could take it away from him later, booking even more handicap matches for Mr. Kennedy, more massages. Let's just say a rated R superstar was in the cut and all of his slimy and disgusting glory. And everything was going perfect till your shenanigans ended up on the Titantron, as is tradition. Once Maria gets out of the hospital, Mr. Kennedy exposes you for all of your dirty deeds, and you and Maria are done. You're through, you're finished. Get ready to verse Taker and Kane in a handicap match, buddy. Get ready to take on Big Show in a tables match. And worst of all, you also find out that Maria is now with Mr. Kennedy. You lost the girl, you lost the power, you lost it all, and it's like, wow, it's finally time for you to pay for your sins. And it all leads to WrestleMania, where it's you versus Mr. Kennedy in a steel cage match for the WWE title. After months of all the shenanigans and tomfoolery, you're all alone in the cage with Mr. Kennedy and the title is on the line. And at this point, it had been such an interesting story, right? You start off as this heel who goes on to do such evil things, manipulate, lie, cheat, everything. You name it, you did it with Edge. And here you are in the main event of Mania. It was unlike any story we really ever had in a wrestling game. So you have this classic with Kennedy, and it's like, how the hell is this gonna end? Is Edge really walking out champion after everything he's done? Usually these story modes end with a good guy prevailing, but you're not the good guy. Or is the story mode really gonna end with you losing? So you're having this classic, you're going crazy with Mr. Kennedy, and then Maria walks out. The same girl who you lied to, manipulated, cheated on, hospitalized, she's here to see your downfall in 4K. So you reach the top of the cage and you're slowly leaving. At the same time, Kennedy tries sneaking out through the door. It's a race, it's intense, what's gonna happen, whose feet are gonna touch the floor first, and what do you know? Boom, Maria turns on Kennedy.
You think you know me?
Just when you thought Edge was finally getting a taste of his own medicine, just when you thought it was all crashing down and was gonna hurt inside, hell nah, you as Edge win the WWE title in the main event of WrestleMania. Maria was in on it all along, and the slimy, disgusting Edge, the master manipulator, after months of doing all these evil deeds you could possibly imagine, walks out of Mania as champion. Of course, it's the Edge storyline where you get to lie, cheat, gaslight, and do everything in between, and still end up on top at WrestleMania with the title. What a storyline. What makes it so fun is, I swear to God, if I was a kid and I was watching wrestling every week and a storyline like this went down in real life and WrestleMania actually ended with this shit, I would have broke my TV. I would have crashed out. Genuinely the most perfect storyline they could have ever created for a character like Edge, and all these years later, it is a total blast to play. And like I said, as a kid I looked at it a little differently, but in 2024 as an adult, it's fun being Edge. Moving on though to the next storyline. I don't know if you guys heard this, but apparently Randy Orton in 2009 was a menace. Well, he definitely was in this game. Randy Orton's road to WrestleMania is a pretty simple one, but an awesome one nonetheless. The story begins, and in the very first match, you as Randy Orton destroy The Undertaker and become World Heavyweight Champion. You beat that old geezer up, snatch his title from him, and the Age of Orton is alive once again. And what's cool about the storyline is, it acts as if Legacy never existed in real life, and it kind of forms here, where after teaming with Ted and Cody, you get to choose if you want to continue help watching their back, and if you do, they help watch yours, and I decided to go for it. I saw the twinkle in baby Cody Rhodes' eyes, and I was like, hey, how could I say no to this young man? So you help Cody beat Taker, Legacy helps you out in your matches, and this cute little bromance is on the way. But at the Royal Rumble, it's you versus The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match for the world title. Time to run it back like it's 2005, and your objective going into this match is tossing The Undertaker off the top of the cell. So you gotta do what you gotta do. You as Randy Orton destroy The Undertaker. They wanted me to toss him off the top of the cell. Shit, I threw him off the top like 3 times. I killed The Undertaker. As much as you can kill the dead man, I did it. Off the top, through the middle, punk kick to the head. Honestly, he's lucky I didn't find Michelle McCool out here. So much CT was delivered and the title was retained. The commentators were all depressed, showing the replays. You're out here taunting him when he's already dead. Bald Randy was in the cut. He was a menace, casually committing atrocities and just hitting them with the pose like nothing happened. And this all leads to Randy proclaiming that he's no longer the legend killer, that now he's a legend himself. So, Rey Mysterio, clapped. Fat Hardy wants to cash in his Money in the Bank, clapped. Basically, in this road to WrestleMania, you as Randy Orton are in your prime. But just like real life, when you're at the top of the game, there's always some YGs ready to take you out. And it's exactly what happens when Ted and Kennedy catch you lacking when you're the special guest referee and beat your ass in the middle of the ring and proclaim they're the new legend killers. You're left in there with a pool of your own blood, you're a mess, the YG's got the drop on you, and this is where Randy really wakes up and becomes a monster. See, once your youngins turn on you, it's a wrap. You snap. Your poor dad is trying to console you, but hey, it's okay, Randy, it happens, it's all good. I don't know why he's in his underwear, but he's trying to cheer you up. No, it doesn't matter. Fuck you, dad. RKO in the car. You see Cody Rhodes' dad backstage. You see Dusty. Fuck you, Dusty. You casually beat up 64-year-old Dusty Rhodes backstage and then celebrate like you just won the NBA Finals. Ted and Cody blindside you and take your world title and run away. They hit you with a chair again, give you concussion, you're bleeding everywhere. No problem, no problem. I'll just take your dad hostage. It's all good. No problem here whatsoever. Randy goes nuts, and it all leads to WrestleMania. Randy versus Cody versus Ted Jr. with Dusty and Ted at ringside as lumberjacks. And what's so awesome about this match is you go out there and obviously destroy both of these bozos, right? It's all good, but depending on who you end up pinning in this match to win, that's what triggers a cool little cutscene after the match. So after hitting Cody with the RKO, I got the 1-2-3 and retained the world title at WrestleMania against all odds, yada yada yada. But since I pinned Cody, his dad Dusty pulls up to the ring once again, and this old man challenges me to an impromptu match at WrestleMania. So yes, after clapping his son, Dusty wants to work too, and this man starts tweaking, he starts twerking, he actually takes me down and attacks me, but of course, it's 2009 bald Randy Orton. Hit him with a punt, his lights are out. That wasn't enough for me, made him bleed the heart away and just left him laying there in his own blood. At 1, 2, 3, just like that, the whole family got annihilated at WrestleMania. Bring out Goldust while you're at it too. But yeah, a solid fun road to WrestleMania. Listen, it's always fun to be Randy Orton and just go off and destroy everyone, but beating people's dads, what more could you want? Overall, a really solid take on the legacy storyline. Oh, and by the way, after beating him up and his son, Dusty does get up and offer you a handshake to call it a truce. You hit him with the RKO. A really fun storyline overall. But now, moving on to something really unique for the time, the one and only Road to WrestleMania starring a diva, the Mickie James Road to WrestleMania. As far as I can remember, the first time ever in a WWE game where you could do a story mode with a female wrestler, and the Mickie James storyline is pretty fascinating and definitely something that was ahead of its time. So this game came out in 2009, back when divas were getting like 3-minute pay-per-view matches. We were just a year removed from bikini contests. The women's revolution was very, very, very far away. But in the storyline, it basically takes place 6 years before it really did, and I remember back in 2009 playing this and being super into it. The storyline begins with The Miz hosting a swimsuit competition on Raw, and Mickie James comes out and proclaims that the divas are more than just eye candy and deserve the same respect that the male wrestlers get, and thus starting a whole women's revolution in the game. And by the way, I hope you know, this revolution was so realistic because every week in the game, you would hear Jerry Lawler literally crying about how he misses puppies. But yeah, you as Mickie James then proceeded to tear up the diva scene and become the women's champion. The storyline was so ahead of its time because they even had the first ever women's rumble here. Yes, in SVR 2010, they had the women's Royal Rumble 8 years before it ever took place in real life, which is wild to look back at. But yeah, overall the storyline isn't anything crazy after that. It does branch off into a standard storyline where you're the champion and Natalia becomes obsessed with you and basically wants to be you and becomes a crazy stalker. Remind you of someone, Mickie? And then you got Brian Kendrick who's trying to become your man, so you gotta decide between a crazy stalker and the Brian Kendrick. I'm gonna be honest, I'm choosing the crazy stalker every time. I don't want anything to do with Brian Kendrick, and just drama happens, right? Whoever you don't give attention to turns on you and it leads to mania. Nothing too crazy, but it was just fun at the time because we never got in a proper women's story mode ever at that point, and I can only imagine how hyped the Divas fans were. And the whole Rumble in here, the women's revolution thing was kind of trippy. It was fun to kind of relive the Mickie James and Trish storyline with Mickie James and Natalia. Another solid story in the SVR 2010 Road to WrestleMania mode. But let's move on to the forgotten Road to WrestleMania story when it comes to SVR 2010. Let's go to the one that I didn't even remember taking place. I don't remember playing this at all. Ladies and gentlemen, the Shawn Michaels Road to WrestleMania. As we all know, in 2010, Shawn Michaels retired from the WWE, and luckily for us, before that happened, we got our own HBK Last Dance in the SVR game. The Michaels story at first starts off pretty standard. You're HBK, you're trying to win the world title, every week you have a match, you're beefing JBL, you become the #1 contender at the Rumble, pretty standard stuff all the way around. But once JBL attacks you during your match at the Rumble, your title match, that's when business picks up, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I was really surprised at how funny and good this got. JBL becomes your biggest hater. After taking you out at the Rumble, he basically tells the world that he has made it his mission, that God has sent him down to end Shawn Michaels' career, and he's in the ring and he's literally announcing that I'm starting the Shawn Michaels retirement tour brought to you by JBL. He even showed the world a special tribute video celebrating HBK's career because it's about to come to an end soon, and instead of showing actual footage, all you see are clips of Shawn Michaels from old SmackDown games throughout the years, with the dates being 1994 to 2009 for some reason, and the ending it just ended up being this close-up of Shawn Michaels that fades to black, and it literally makes it seem like Shawn Michaels died. But yeah, every week JBL just hates you, and I'm surprised he didn't drop a diss track. One week he has a sit-down interview with Chris Jericho, and all they talk about is how much they hate you for a solid 3 to 4 minutes. The next week he brings out Brian Kendrick, who's actually trained by Shawn Michaels back in the day, and they spend another 3 to 4 minutes just talking about how useless Shawn Michaels is. Now obviously you go out there and you fight for your dignity to beat them up, but it's just hilarious. Every week JBL doesn't stop clowning you. I was in a match with Randy Orton for the title, and this man pulled up to the ramp with a microphone and just yapped. He just kept yapping for a solid 5 minutes about how I suck, I'm useless, that I'm no good, that I should just retire, I should just go deactivate my life. And even when I'm hitting my finisher, you can just hear in the background just JBL talking shit.
You don't deserve.
Like, yo, at that point, you just gotta admire the dedication to hate someone that much. But regardless, you win the world title, and despite being a broken down old man Shawn Michaels, you got the world title in your hands once again. After countless matches, attacks, backstage fights, you're finally champion again. And of course, it's time to defend the title and take on JBL in a cage match. And this part was really interesting. So right before you go out to the ring for your cage match with JBL, you for some reason decide that you want to be the showstopper again and jump off the top of the cage. You're 45 years old. But alright, whatever. You want to stop the show, might as well stop the show. Get the EMTs in the stretcher ready, okay? You go out there with your lazy eye, and you know what? I jumped off the cage a few times. He really wanted to stop the show. I jumped off the top of the cage a solid 4 times, hit him with a sweet chin music, 1, 2, 3, and I retained the title against JBL. Now, after the match, do your legs stop working? Of course. Do you collapse trying to make your way backstage? Yep. You know what, Shawn? Maybe next time, don't jump off the top of the cage. But hey, it's for the love of the game, right? So you're Shawn Michaels and you're on your last legs at this point, literally. And JBL, just when you thought he had ran out of ways to hate on you, he pulls up and he puts a $250,000 bounty on your head. To whoever finishes the job and retires you, they get $250,000. Someone's been watching Raw from 2003. Not gonna lie to you, after we found out Shawn was poor in 2009, he probably should have just retired and took the money for himself. But yeah, no, every week now you got JTG and Shad pulling up on you, you got Legacy trying to finish you off. Pause. Mark Henry and Mike Knox. For some reason, the whole roster ends up trying to get you out of there, but thankfully we had CM Punk on our side helping us and we survive it all. And hey, it's Road to WrestleMania, so where does this end? At WrestleMania, when it's you taking on JBL in an I Quit match, career versus career. And despite CM Punk turning on you, who booked this, Vince Russo? It being a 2-on-1 match and everything, you win the match and announce to the world that hey, you're not retiring yet, Jack. So not exactly HBK's last dance, but damn close to it. Like I said, in my opinion, this is like the most forgotten Road to WrestleManias, not from just SVR 2010, but I feel like in general, I had no memory of this story from any game. But yo, it's pretty fun. Just having JBL be the MVP of this and every week just coming out blasting, it's hilarious. And having the storyline to take place just months before Shawn actually retired in real life, it's really cool and relevant. And also, they took the stupid JBL and HBK storyline from 2009 where Shawn Michaels was poor, and they fixed it up into something pretty solid. A very, very pleasant surprise. In the comments down below though, let me know, do you remember playing this Road to WrestleMania, or am I just the only one that for some reason forgot it? But anyway, really fun to revisit in 2024. Shout out to JBL, man. So inspirational. But moving on to the next one though, it's time for John Cena and Triple H's Road to WrestleMania, Brand Warfare. I'm gonna be honest, at first going to the storyline, I wasn't really too excited for this. I didn't remember much from it, and it was just like, oh, Brand Warfare? I thought it was just gonna be a basic SmackDown versus Raw storyline. Who's the best? We're gonna find out who's the best roster and whatnot. You know, I was expecting a really simple storyline, but to my surprise, this was much more than that and had a lot of creativity. Now, don't get me wrong, for the first month, it's pretty useless. You're just John Cena, you're Triple H, running around defending your titles. Vince declares Brand Warfare, and then at WrestleMania, we're gonna find out exactly which brand is the best. Nothing special, nothing crazy. But at the Rumble, when both of your characters defend and retain their titles, and you found out that Big Show has won the Rumble, that's when everything pops off. I'm gonna be honest, I've always considered Big Show like the most useless wrestler of all time, but here in SVR 2010 Road to WrestleMania, this might be his magnum opus. So here in this story, with everyone caught up between SmackDown and Raw, ECW was kind of forgotten, right? It was a forgotten brand, just like real life. So when Big Show won the Rumble, this man decides to defect to ECW. Big Show turns up, destroys everyone, and he declares that he's going to ECW and that he's an ECW sympathizer, and I guess he's an extremist. And along with John Morrison and The Miz, they just start tweaking every week against Raw and SmackDown. Big Show becomes ECW champion and he starts showing up on Raw and SmackDown every week and causing havoc, and they're literally booking this guy like he's King Kong in his prime, destroying tables, pulling up to Raw and killing John Cena like a Neanderthal. Even the camera angles make him look like he's some next movie monster, and it's like, damn, respect to him. He's just trying to bring back respect to ECW. Maybe if they did this in real life, people might have actually cared about ECW. They destroyed both world titles with sledgehammers, which is hilarious because after the titles are destroyed, both Triple H and Cena just stopped showing them to the shows with a belt. It's like, guys, you know you can get new ones, right? Like, you can just get new ones made. But nah, for months they were champions, but they didn't have any world title belts. So yeah, you as John Cena will defend your title at No Way Out and you win the match and you're celebrating. It's like, yay, I'm still a champion, but there's literally no belt. What if the other guy won? Does he become champion without a belt? What is this, TNA wrestling? Imagine being a wrestler and you finally win the title. It's like, oh my god, the boyhood dream has come true. But yeah, sorry kid, yeah, we don't have money for a belt right now. But yeah, the story mode gets really fun. ECW gets involved and the mission just becomes bury the ECW roster. At one point, you do the whole Triple H and Cena versus the ECW roster match where you just destroy the entire roster and just bury them 6 feet deep. But what makes the story really fun though, other than King Kong going off, is that between No Way Out and WrestleMania, in the build to the triple threat champions of champion match where all 3 champions go at it in a 20-minute Iron Man match to declare the one true champion. What kind of fucking match is this? Okay, so basically before the triple threat match at Mania to declare the one true champion in the WWE, every week they have special challenges, and the one person who wins the most challenges by WrestleMania, they get to choose a stipulation for the match. Because yes, that match needs more stipulations. But nah, the challenges are pretty cool, and at first it's like, oh, which wrestler during their match can get the crowd the loudest, which ended up being John Cena. The second challenge was hilarious. It was straight up time for these 3 men to bury the roster again. It was a finisher challenge where each champion takes on 3 different men at once, and whoever in those 3 minutes can hit the most finishers wins. So Triple H ends up hitting 8 finishes. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I think I can beat that with Cena. The challenge starts, and first of all, the ring is on fire, and you're in there with 3 idiots, and it's just time to start blasting. Imagine this was a real thing, by the way. But yo, this was actually hard. I thought it was easy, right? That was easy peasy. You go in there, press triangle a bunch of times, AA here, AA there. It's like Alcoholics Anonymous, no problem. Nah, next thing you know, they're actually reversing everything. I'm getting killed, and I only finished with 6 finishers. And sadly, Big Show won this challenge. Every week between No Way Out and WrestleMania, there's a challenge, and it really makes the story fun and engaging. One week you can't run during your match, and you have to see how fast you can win. One week there's a gauntlet, and in my story, Big Show ended up winning the challenge series 2-1-1, and he was the one who got to choose a stipulation. And what did he choose? Falls count anywhere. And yeah, you gotta go to WrestleMania and you gotta win this big massive match, this huge WrestleMania main event, the triple threat Iron Man falls count anywhere my dad left me match. And I definitely do. And at least the Big Show looking so depressed. Poor guy, put in all this work in the storyline. At the end he loses and he's just there looking like some kid whose mom said no to him at the Walmart toy section. And after all that, you're declared the champion of champions. It's a very simple story, but the challenges and ECW finally getting some respect, it made it pretty fun. This does, though, feel like a story that was just thrown together like, hey, we gotta make a story for Cena and Triple H. We gotta put some star power in this mode. What can we do? So it does feel really thrown together just to get those superstars in here. But regardless, it's a damn fine story. Shout out to the Big Show, the real MVP. The one time in his career post WCW he actually held it down. Shout out to the Big Show. He was useful for once in his life. But ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the main event of the evening. The final story of this road to WrestleMania, the main event of the evening, probably the most iconic one in this entire mode. I think this is everyone's favorite, one of the most fun stories we've ever had in any wrestling game. SVR 2010's Road to WrestleMania, created wrestler story. See, before there ever was Jacob Cass in the legendary WWE 12 story mode, there was this one story 2 years prior. So it was only right that this time I played it with Jacob Cass Sr. The story begins with your created wrestler being front row at an episode of Raw. You're right there in the front row, you get to look around and see the show, you see Santino Marella defending his IC title, you see him get the win, and post-match, Santino starts talking trash to the crowd. He starts taunting the crowd and challenging people in the crowd, and next thing you know, you're jumping the barricade and you find yourself in a match with Santino for the IC title, which is exactly how Santino made his debut in 2007. So you just happen to have your wrestling gear on for some reason, totally normal, totally not concerning, and you go in there and win the IC title in your debut, and you're like, all right, I guess I'm a wrestler now. And poor Santino in this story is hilarious.
You thief! You homewrecker!
The whole story begins with you as IC champion, and Vince right off the bat hates you. He wants his belt back, he doesn't want you as champion or even on the roster. Santino tries to take the belt from you, he can't. You're not technically signed, but you keep running into matches and try defending your title, and you end up in a situation where Vince invites you into his office and he has a security team try to beat you up. So what do? You destroy his office and wreck everything. And I'm low-key surprised after all this damage that I didn't find 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Can't lie. But yeah, it's like a fun, simple story. It's kind of like Austin versus McMahon, but for idiots, on a much smaller scale, much more sillier, and that's why I like it. It's kind of grounded because it's more realistic. It's not like, oh, you're a new wrestler, you get signed, and before you know it, you know, you're the main event Cena against John Cena or something. No, you're out here and your main op is Santino Marella and Vince McMahon. You eventually do get signed and enter the Rumble, which of course you end up winning, and it's like, damn, you know, you're actually going places, you're IC champion, you won the Rumble, and then Vince decides to sabotage your entire career. Hey, this is pretty realistic. Vince decides to change your entire gimmick and look, and next thing you know, you're out here dressing up like an 80s corn star. Wait, what? Yeah, you eventually start getting a little too much momentum, so Vince has you change your entire look and has you looking like this. This man is definitely on a neighborhood watch list. But despite that, against all odds, despite looking like Ron Jeremy, you keep going, and despite everything Vince throws at you, one of the best moments is Vince gets so fed up with you being IC champion, he gets you blindsided by Santino and just starts an impromptu match for the belt, and he makes himself the special guest referee. And in this match, every time you go for the pin, yo, he counts so slow. It's actually impressive that they coded this into the game. Yo, this guy counts so slow. It's the slowest count you've ever seen in your life. My dead grandma, if you dug her up right now, can count faster than this. And the funny part is, Santino's so useless that even with Vince counting this slow, he still can't beat you. You still win the match. What a lifestyle. But no doubt, the most memorable part of this story is easily the Elimination Chamber match for your IC title. Well, it's supposed to be another match where you defend your title, this big epic classic, this match where against all odds, you prove you're one of the best, ends up being iconic for a whole different reason. Before the match, Santino Marella sneaks into your room doing like barrel rolls and pressing circle like he's James Bond on a mission, and he replaces your gear with this. Yo, I guess DX was red in 2006. Vince loves. Wait, what? So you really gotta retain your IC title in an Elimination Chamber match dressed up as a chicken. Yo, you gotta love it. Fly, chicken, fly. It's so silly. It's so stupid, but I love it. It's a good kind of silly, and this is a very, very core memory for me when I think back to SVR 2010, wearing a chicken costume and just jumping off the top of the pods and retaining my title. What a costume, what a match. And the war between you and Vince continues. You know, on one episode, Vince is giving a speech, and you break into the control room and you can change his voice to make him sound like this.
I'm not overstating things when I say that all the success WWE has achieved has been through my hard work.
You can draw on the screen and do whatever you want. I tried writing NDA, but Vince did not like that. It's a fun, constant war between you two, and it's really awesome. And of course, it leads to WrestleMania, you and Vince. After months of back and forth, months of games, the story concludes with you finally defeating Vince a few times in one night, actually, and just embarrassing him for the whole world to see. No doubt, a 10 out of 10 created wrestler stories. So many funny moments, so many funny things you can do, or situations you can end up in. And once again, I just love how grounded it is. It's a breath of fresh air, and you know, having a small scale story like this where the world title doesn't even matter. No, you're IC champion and you're just out here doing your thing, trying to make it onto the roster. And I can't lie, growing up, I played this story at least like 5 times. It was great then, it is definitely great now. And the way you clap Vince at WrestleMania at the end, yo, perfect. It's actually chef's kiss. In my opinion, one of the most fun and immersive created wrestler stories we've ever had. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's SmackDown vs. Raw 2010's Road to WrestleMania. 6 stories and honestly 6 bangers that literally give you everything you could possibly want from a wrestling video game story mode. Action, comedy, drama, more comedy. another year and another classic mode. Like I said in the intro, it was a little more chill this time, right? There's no zombies running around or anything. There's no witchcraft. There's no new country being created, but it was a great evolution of the mode. A mode where each story has a case for being the best one. And, you know, there's more situations where you choose what you want. There's more paths, you know, what you do actually matters. Yo, that was a wild stutter. But yeah, there's actually replay value. You can play the stories over and over again and choose different things to do. Go this way, go that way. It was a great evolution to the mode. And in the comments down below, of course, let me know, do you remember the Shawn Michaels storyline, or am I the only one that forgot about it? But also let me know, which one is your favorite story in all of this? For me, it's definitely a tie between Edge and the custom character one. I can't lie, but I don't know. I think I might have to go for the Edge one just because of how perfect it is for the rated R superstar. But custom character is a very, very close second. Let me know down below. It's your boy Pav, aka Wrestling Gifts. If you're still rocking with the video, you made it this far, you watched all 30 minutes of it, I just want to say, shout out to you. You're the real MVP. Appreciate the support, appreciate the love. Thank you for supporting, thank you for watching. I'll be back with more content coming very, very soon. Till then, though, take it easy, stay safe out there. It's your boy Pav, aka Wrestling Gifts, and I'm out of here, though. Later, guys.